Glenn Burke left the Major League Baseball and went to San Francisco, where he played in the gay softball league, which at the time was a growing organization that was getting some traction and is now a huge international organization, and they play a World Series and so forth. So he was talking about when it was formed, but also their local team would play other softball games with local organizations or so forth. So it's in those 1982 games hosted by San Francisco, I played both. This was the Gay Olympics, both basketball and baseball. In basketball, I averaged 40 points over a 6-game span. I was named MVP of that sport. We had some other great athletes, but I just went all out. We took the Gay Olympic World Series as well, and the Pendulum Club threw us a huge party after the games were over. The police closed off the side of the street that the Pendulum is on and just let us have it for the night. Our team knew the police. We beat them to death in an all-star game in the City League. They couldn't fuck with us. We batted around twice. They couldn't even get back up to hit. The umpires had to call the game. I hit a ball so hard I broke one of the officers' kneecaps. I felt so badly about that, but we were going for the no mercy rule. We really wanted to kick their ass. The route was our way of earning some respect from the police. And all the while we called them out, straight boys, we're gonna beat you, straight boys. Everybody started laughing. We were all acting like a bunch of sissies. But we figured that showing our superiority at softball would help our cause. And somewhere along the line, the gays and the Castro did get some respect out of it. So I like to think my contribution to gays was my accomplishments in sports. Nobody could fuck with us anymore. So that's where I feel like there's a certain level of advocacy that you're allowed to perform through art, and you don't necessarily need to speak on someone's behalf to do that. You can present information, and the fact that you're able to center a conversation around something allows for you to create that intersection on your own and bring people to say that. Don't think about what I'm thinking about, but I invite you to think something on your own within this that I've now spent hundreds of hours in my studio trying to comprehend. I don't care to spoon feed you to a conclusion. I'd rather just present a bit of information and leave a lot of room for interpretation.
Invite us in. Listen, Jeremy, I would like to end with just one more question from Michael Jader.
Just like that.
I told you.
You just won.
It's a good shirt.
Thanks. I just to get your quick thoughts. I mean, I love the connection between sport and life, and I know you and me both had that very much involved in our lives, specifically from our fathers, and how that. And people ask me like why I like sports, and it goes deeper than just the score. It goes to the fact that it can have an impact and have an influence on actually people's thoughts and ideas on other cats. I was just like I would like to hear your thoughts on that connection and why and like how those things work, how sports goes deeper than just the ball and the bat.
Yeah. I think I parallel sports and art, and there's a lot of the ways that you have to approach it, but also the basis that there will be a small percentage of our population that will be able to do those things professionally and make that your career. But there's thousands and millions of people that will participate in it just for the betterment of themselves. And that's where I find that it is like this same correlation where for me, from an early age, the way that I battle depression or anxiety or so forth was like, go play basketball or make some art. Like one or the other. I'll feel better. Whatever the outcome might be, I might fail in the studio. I might get crushed out there on the basketball court. But I will have had the release that I have desired to provide. So that's where I see that there's a handful of artists and a handful of athletes that can have so much greater meaning to a culture of people, a society of people, can be while they're alive or well after they're gone, that is no longer related to what they actually did and performed, and it's rather that they They stood up for something, they represented something, they created something new, and they ushered in a whole group of people behind them to say, oh, well, I can throw the ball around my back now, and we'll play like this from now on. And this is how I think I parallel a lot of that to sports and life, and trying to continue to pursue art as a resource for me to figure out what I believe about the world.
We'd like, yeah.
I just
Further questions?
wanted to
Yeah.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for not only the show, but thank you for the courage to bring up those kind of subjects, even though you don't have to be gay to discuss those issues. You don't have to be a woman to discuss feminist issues. You don't have to be a child, etc.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
people that they get surprised that, when I mentioned, when I try to interpret the gender,
Yeah.
which has been really important to me to have here. A lot of people ask, are you gay?
Yeah.
And it's really cool to have them know.
Yeah.
Well, that's none of my business or yours, but it's not. But this is an important issue.
Yeah. I think I've worked in galleries and in art now for a really long time, and you realize that the best work is the work that people can stand behind it 1,000,000%, and sometimes it's very much a personal reflection, or that it just means that much to me. And that was sort of where I felt like, I'm heterosexual, I'm white, I'm a man, but that doesn't mean that it's limited for me. I had a deep conversation with a friend of mine about, there's a controversial painting at the Whitney Biennial, and it was like, well, if you're a straight white man, does that mean you can only make work about Fantasyland? And it's like, in a way, it's like, if it doesn't mean that much to you, then maybe, right. But if it does mean that much to you, then you're allowed to put yourself out there and become a vulnerable force. And I encourage people to ask me why or how I arrived at that, or if I feel like I belong making it or not. Because if I really feel strongly about, like a lot of my work is about black athletes, and many of which have passed away. And I feel like if somebody is encouraged to say, well, who are you to make that work, then I'm already succeeding, because I want that person to think about what those, why we feel that way, and why we want to protect that, and I'm assuming that responsibility. I think.
Thank you.
And you.